about the marketing skills, sales skills we have talked about in MVP1. Now we will start today with MVP2 session, right? MVP2 is basically concerned with the production of the book, right? Now you can assume that you are working in a publishing house, and a publishing house has accepted the manuscript and is ready for the publication. So once the publisher accepts the manuscript, everything is ready, and now the production has to be started of the book. The production, or you can say manufacturing of the book, needs to be started. So from here, the acquisition or development editor passes the manuscript or transmits the manuscript with along with all the details, required details of the manuscript, to the production department. From here, the production department takes over till the time of printing. Uh, so a production when the production will start, production consists of starting from the manuscript inception, from the commissioning department or acquisition department, till sending the books to the manuscript to the press, right? So today we will in MVP2 we have 4 units. Today we will cover 2 units and 2 tomorrow, right? So first 2 units are on the topics of kinds of editor and kinds of editing, and second unit is on editor author publisher relationship, right? So first we will start with the kinds of editors and editing. So the production process is also called the pre-press process, right? Pre-press process means the manuscript has reached to the production department, and all the activities that will be covered before sending to the press, that will covered in the pre-press process, right? So in this unit, you will mainly cover what is editing, what are the different kinds of editors are there, what kinds of editing they do according to their profile or according to the requirement, and what is the entire scope of the editing activity, right? So editing is a thing like which is not much taught in the schools or colleges, but if you are entering in this field, you should have the skills of editing. So here in this diploma you will get those skills. You will get a thorough knowledge of those skills and all, right? Or at least the basic knowledge to start with in any company as a fresher, you will have those. So why is editing required? uh, because a manuscript is written by a expert in the field, who is well expert in the field. Obviously that person can uh, dare to write a book, to write a 300 400 page book, or write a 200 page book on any specific topic, uh, whether it is any field fiction, any genre, fiction, storybooks, or textbooks, anything. So he is an expert in their field, in his field. But still the editing is required, because see, he is an expert in the content part. when we are uh, when we are going deep into the publishing thing, so we there is a thin line difference between the content and the actual text. Uh, Broadly they are same, content and text, but content basically mainly focus on the actual facts that are written in the manuscript. But the text presentation or text is where the editing role comes in. So that expert, that author knows uh, more about their content. No one is in a publishing house, no one is more knowledgeable about that content than the author. But still the author is not very technical about the editing skills, about the presentation of the content. They have written their content in a flow, sometimes not in a flow also. They have written their knowledge or their thoughts on the paper, right? But to make it presentable, to make it understandable to the reader, a role of an editor comes in. So like I told earlier, that acquisition or development works as a bridge between the author and the publisher, right? So here in a production department, the editor role now today we will talk only about the production. So when I say about the about an editor, so consider only the editors who are working in the production department, not the acquisition or the development. I will not talk about these editors today, maybe somewhere if required, but normally the editor will reflect here the editors who are working in the production department, right? So the editor, so acquisition works as a bridge between the author and the publisher, and the editor who is working in the production department, they act as a bridge between the author and the reader, whoever is the reader, student, uh, any student, any general reader, whoever it is. So they act as a bridge between the author and the reader. They make the content of the author presentable, understandable, clear to the reader. Because you see, if the content is very good but it is not understood by the reader, target reader, so it is of no use, right? So it is of no use to the reader. If the reader will not find it useful, they will not buy, and if they will not buy, then the publisher will face loss. So here the role of editor, the crucial role of editor comes in, right? So editing, editing, we are generally talking about the editing. It is not only that when the production editor is starting editing, because when sometimes when the author is writing the manuscript, some authors are very concerned about their content presentation, so they also look at their content 2 or 3 times. They do the thorough rounds of revision. So this is also called editing by the at the author's end. Sometimes the authors also mentions while submitting the manuscript that we have run through the editing process and all. So you can move according to your needs, according to your standards, publisher standards. So that is also called an editing. It's not that if the editor in a publishing house is editing, then it is only called the editing. But if the author is doing at their end, it is also called editing. Yeah. By editor, I want to ask you people that what do you think, because now you have a broad idea what the production is doing, what the acquisition and evaluation is doing, what the marketing is doing. So what do you think that an editor is doing in the production department? What is their role, if you have any idea? So
Basically, I think, in my opinion, they should present the content in a very readable format. If the
mhm.
images are required, they need to add that. I mean, in general, this is what I understand by editing.
Okay.
Because the same content, when it is, the presentation matters a lot. Is
Right.
the content, if some book we don't feel like reading just by looking at
Mm.
the page quality or even the paragraphs or font size and all. So
Okay.
some books we feel like just by looking at the structure only we feel like reading it, and then we go
Yeah.
through the content. So to make it more presentable and look more prettier for the eyes, I
Yeah.
think that all this comes under editing part.
Yeah, right. Your concept is quite clear about that. But yeah, your concept is clear that for the present better presentation and for all. But how the editor does that, right? So once the manuscript comes to the production department, so the manager of the production department, see there in a production department, as I told earlier, that there are many editors, right? So a book is assigned, or a manuscript is assigned to a specific editor, that you are going to handle this book. When a manuscript is assigned to an editor, so he or she is told that that is understood by the profile, that they are the editor who has been assigned the specific book. They are the owner of that book now, right? So they are the owner. If there will be any error, any fallout on the book, so questions, liability will come on that editor, that why this has happened, why has this happened, why has this not been queried at the right time, why has this not been raised or escalated at the right time. So once a manuscript is in your hand, you are the owner of that product, because in the production department, book is also called a product. So you are the product owner. So it is your responsibility to make it to make it readable, to make it understandable, and to make it presentable. Right. So once the project has been assigned to an editor, what he or she will do, first they will analyze the manuscript. Right. The previous departments have done analysis and evaluation according to their aspects, but now the production editor, an editor who is evaluating, who has been assigned the book, they will analyze or evaluate the manuscript as per the production aspects. Right. What kind of production aspects they check? They check whether the book is structurally fine or not. Yes, certain loopholes can be fixed, right? But should not be that there is a complete haywire, right? If all the elements of the book are there or not, suppose the table of contents shows that there are 14 chapters, but in the manuscript there are only 13 chapters, or one chapter is missing from the between, right? So they will look for that, or some prelims element, prelims back matter. I think these are covered in detail in the later units, structure of the book. So if the front matter, some front element is missing, some end matter is missing, so they will look for the completeness of the manuscript. They will definitely look for the language of the manuscript, right? Few issues in language, certain loopholes in language, yes, they can be fixed, but sometimes it happens, it rarely happens, let's say, because earlier departments have also analyzed that thing, but the production editor always looks for the language quality, that if it is a completely messed up, then it goes back to the author. They are asked to improvise it, or they are discussed that this manuscript will require the higher level of editing, or this requires more time. Suppose because acquisition has decided with the sales and marketing department that this book needs to be published, or this new book needs to be in the market by uh, July. They have assigned the product to the production department in February, right, or January, and they have decided that because when the production department gets the book, all the information is ready with them, that when the book will be out in the market and all. So they look for the time also, that according to the work required in the manuscript, is the time feasible for us, for the production department. Because if the language is not that good, and it will take more effort of a copy editor to do the corrections and all. So obviously that 4 months time or 5 months time, if it is editor feels that it is not suitable, so they will go back to the previous departments, and they will say that it is not feasible to have the book out in July. So if possible, the permits are revised. If not, then certain alternative methods are devised for that specific book to get the book on time. Right? So they look for the language issues. They also evaluate the permission issues broadly, not in detail, because permissions and all are has been cleared by the acquisition and all acquisition department. But here they also go through or scroll through the manuscript, that whether there are not any uh, major permission issues, because sometimes it also happens that an author is writing a book, but for 2 3 chapters they are they have been accepted from some another previously published publication. Suppose from any another book or any journal, they have taken one article and they are presenting sorry, they are presenting them as a new chapter in their book. They have given their source that we have taken this material from this journal or from this book earlier published in this year, with the complete details. But in that case, the production editor will look for that whether we have the right permissions for these previously published elements or not. If they are not present, so they will ask back to the acquisition department, or they will ask back to the author that please provide us the permission letters and all. So they look for these things. They look for the image quality, right? Suppose the book it needs to be set in a gray scale. Gray scale means black and white scale only. The book will have only black and white color. Right. So black and white is considered only one color book in publishing. Although black and white are two colors, right? But this is considered as a gray scale. So gray scale is considered as a one color book. Like if we have uh, more than black and white, we have blue color or any other color. So then it will be called two color book. And if the book has more than two colors or any color colorful books, you can say, so they are called four color books, right? So if the suppose the book is to be printed in single color in the gray scale, and the images are there are images given of complex maps. They are colorful. The colors are depicting the different elements that suppose it is a geography book, and the colorful map is depicting there are very small tiny areas. The author has described that blue color is reflecting this millimeter rain, green color is reflecting this millimeter rain, and there are so many colors, like 10 15 colors in a map, and tiny places. So if you will convert them also in black and white color, so it will not be clear to the reader, because in grayscale how many shades you will use, the 4 5 till 4 5 shades it is okay, it is visible, it is clear also to the reader, that dark color, then light, then light, then light. So it is visible or understandable to the reader. But there are more than 5, like 10 or 15 I said, so it will not be good to present it in a grayscale. So they look for these kind of images also, and there are any kind these kind of images, they go back to the author. Yeah, because a production editor is also in constant touch with the authors. Once the when the acquisition transfers the project to the production editor, they transfer all the along with other details, they transfer the all the author contact details, mm, like their contact number, their email IDs, or any specific points about the author. Like some author is a high profile in their industry, or some are very time sensitive authors, they are very particular about their things. So if they have, because the acquisition editor has dealt with the author already for a few months, so they have an idea in their mind that how the author is, because the every person is different, every person has a different attitude, has of different working style. So they have an idea in their mind that how the author working style is, so they pass that information to the production department also. So they go production editor if they have any this kind of query that these figures will not be able to publish or print. So they go back to the authors, they ask that these will not be good for the printing, and please suggest us another image for that thing. Because everything these kind of things are evaluated initially only, because once the editing has been done, once the typesetting has been done, after that replacing the images or replacing the heavy chunk of content is not feasible for the schedule or for the costing of the project. So these kind of things a production editor evaluates. Like, and if one thing more, like the paper quality, if we know that we will not be using a very good quality of paper, so very heavy images are not considered good for the lower quality of paper. Reason being, the low quality of paper will be very thin, right? And if we are giving very high shades in the image, uh, although it is a very simple graph or a simple flow chart, right, but it has very heavy colors, heavy shadings, I would rather say. So what will happen in the when you will produce the book, you will find that it is looking okay and it is looking good, because you are looking at the your computer screen or your laptop screen. The resolution will be different in the laptop screen or desktop screen and the final physical book. So the editor should have that perspective in mind, that how the final product will look, right? So if the images are of this kind also, so they make a point for themselves that these needs to be taken care of while production, because for these we need not go back to the author. This is the production call. They should adjust the quality of the images and all according to the final paper being used. So these kind of things, as per these points, the production editor evaluates the manuscript, and once they find that yes, the manuscript is good to go, right, they in some publishing houses, the production editor also looks for the costing of the book, of the only the production costing of the book, right, because they are dealing with the production aspects, all production tasks. So they will also do the costing of the book, production costing of the book, and they, that production costing is submitted to the acquisition department, and they in conjunction with the marketing or sales department finalize the MRP of the book, right. So how the costing is done, uh, suppose I have a manuscript, right, it is of 300 pages roughly, because in the initial stages we can only have an estimate, right. So it is a 300 pages book, and we know in the initial stages only that this book will be finally set in this layout, specific layout, right, in a layout, what all specifications are there, what font will be using, what space will be there between the text, between the line, between the characters, what kind of figures will be there, and what kind of format of figures will be there, what kind of table format will be there. So these kind of presentation details are there in the layout, right. So we know that our final book will be set in the 280 pages, approximately 280 pages, because there can be plus and minus of 5 or 10 pages while the production, right. So we know that the final product will be of 280 pages, right. So a copy editor cost will be there, right. After copy editing we will do typesetting, so typesetting cost will be there, then proofreading cost will be there, then printing cost will be there. So every publisher has a certain set of fixed prices for them, like they will pay copy editor according to the level of copy editing, suppose 30 rupees per page, 60 rupees per page. So if we have a 280 pages book, so we will just multiply 280 by 60, 280 into 60, and we will get the copy editing cost. Similarly for the typesetting mainly the cost is calculated as per the uh, size of the page that we are using, right, because a book also has, you must have seen books in different sizes, right. If a layman is seeing that, they will say that this is big, this is small, this is medium size book. But if we are working in a publishing industry, so we should have a sound knowledge of sizes, because when we are in the industry we measure the sizes in inches, right. It is 6.5 into 9.5 inch book, uh, 7 7.15 into 9.2 inch book is quite big. Like a textbook size normally that we have, that is 7.5 into 9.2 inches book. So according to the size of the page that we are using, typesetters are mainly basically paid on that basis, rates, right, per page rate and per inch per square inch page rate, sorry. And the proofreader, then the proofreader will come, proofreader will also have some specific rate per unit. So indexing rate will be calculated, so all these costs will be calculated by the production editor, and the sum, obviously the GST and all will be applied according to the requirement. So the sum of the cost, production cost, is given to the acquisition department, and they further process the cost for the MRP of the book. So one of the role of production editor is this also. So these are the initial stages for the production editor: evaluation of the manuscript and the costing of the manuscript, right. So once this is done, one acquisition editor is saying that fine, we are fine with this cost, we are fine with these many pages, because sometimes it happens that an acquisition editor does not want the book to move beyond certain number of pages, because the MRP will be high. It may happen that the acquisition editor or the senior management has decided to use the good quality of paper in a book for some reasons, and taking the paper cost in a mind, they do not want the the page count to be much high, to avoid the to secure their profits, right? So they will say you they will ask the production editor that please see if the page count can be reduced of this book. So production editor will make their efforts in conjunction with the typesetter and all, to change the sample or to revise the layout of the book and to reduce the number of pages. And so along all with that, when the acquisition editor confirms that we are fine with this page count, we are fine with this cost, obviously when the page count will reduce, the cost will also reduce. So once the acquisition editor confirms that okay, we are good to go, so now the actual production work will start. Production editor will transfer this manuscript to the copy editor, right? Copy editor will do the copy editing, will come later. What does actually a copy editor is doing? Once the copy editing is done, they again submit back the manuscript to the production editor. They do a thorough review or a broad review according to the need of the book, and when they find that finally the word file is because mostly these days the author submits the manuscript in word file only, uh, right? So when they think that when a production editor has a feeling that okay, the manuscript is ready for the formatting, then they submits the transfer the manuscript to the typesetter department. Typesetting departments are also in-house in some publishing houses, and but mostly these days publishers are preferring to use the outsourcing for the typesetting and proofreading. So whatever is the case, the production editor will transfer the manuscript to the typesetter. So here the role of a role comes of external stakeholders, means production editor is has also deal with the uh, vendors of the company, typesetters, proofreader. Copy editor may also be outsourcing outsourced person. So the production editor will also need to deal with the vendors. So when the typesetting is done, again it will come back to the production editor. Then they will assign to the proofreading department, whether it is in house or outsourced. Once the proofreading is done, then comes the role of rounds of revisions of the proofs. Once the production editor will check at their end whether everything is in order or not. Once the production editor is confident that typeset proofs are okay, they will share them with the author along with the editorial queries. They different publishers have different work process for editorial queries regarding raised during the copywriting process. Some clear it before typesetting only, some clear it after typesetting. So according to the work process, so wherever you go for a job, so you should ask what is the actual work process followed here. Accordingly you need to follow. So they clear those queries with the authors, and they share the typeset proofs with the authors. Once the author gives a go ahead to the proofs, then one or two more rounds of revision probably, and then the final copy is ready for printing. Then it is shifted to the printing person or printing department in the office, in the publishing house. They evaluate the final PDFs provided by the production editor according to the as per the printing quality aspects. They do their printing checks and all, and finally the book is sent for printing. So here in a gist we can see, in brief we can see, a production editor has to deal with the in-house person. They simultaneously, this is a production of the this is the process of the production of the book only, of the text of the book, right? But along with the text, the book also has a cover, right? So for the cover, the production editor has to deal with the marketing persons. While the production of the text is going on, simultaneously the marketing persons are working on the covers and all. On the back of the cover, you must have seen, or you may have not seen, but you will notice now when you will see any textbook or any academic book, that on the back of the cover there is a brief content or a brief intro about the book, or one or two paras, or sometimes a few lines also if that space not permits. So they also prepare that content. They share with the marketing share the design with them, so they are also dealing with the marketing persons. So in brief we can say that a production editor has to deal with the internal stakeholders and the external stakeholders both. Internal will cover your copy editing team, your any in-house persons who are working, typesetting, proofreading if in-house it's better, or the marketing people. They are or they are also in constant touch with the acquisition and development editors, because if any concern gets cropped up while the production of the book, or if any query is there regarding the author, regarding the manuscript, regarding the content, because the production editor will not change the content without the consent of the author. And if they are dealing with the author directly for the changing of the content, they should keep the acquisition or development editor who is dealing with that manuscript in loop. So they are in constant touch with the acquisition and development editors. They are in constant touch with the marketing. They and externally they are dealing with the authors. There is a heavy responsibility of the authors, because sometimes the authors are very easy to go, sometimes the authors are very difficult to handle, right? If any error or if any issue is there by the committed by the typesetting, proofreading, or copy editing department, so author is not going to ask the typesetting department, author is not going to question the copy editing department, because once the manuscript has been transferred to the production department, a production editor is the front face to the editor on behalf of the publisher. So every query, every question will come to the production editor, whether it is good, whether it is bad, the production editor has to answer the author, right? Many times we have to apologize, many times we receive appreciations. So in any case, the production editor is a front face to the authors once the production process has been started. So this is a vast role of a production editor. They are dealing with the internal, external stakeholders both. Right? They are doing costing and all. So now we have different editors, different kinds of editors there. Except production editors also, because this is I have explained in detail about the production editor, because these two units are mainly based on the production of the book, so you should have a clear idea what is the production department doing, and who is the owner in the production department of the product, right? So but uh, uh, in addition to the production editor, there are different kinds of editors in the publishing house who do their job according to their responsibility, right? Like there is editor in chief, there are sub editor, there are copy editor. So what does I will come one by one to the each one of them. Editor in chief is a quite senior position in a publishing house, right? They are the at the managerial position, so you reach there with a certain experience in the industry. Obviously in any industry, if you are at a senior position, you have some experience in that field. So similarly, editor in chief or editor in chief is also called publisher. See, publisher is a when we hear the publisher word, an image comes of a company who is running the publishing process, who is running the publishing house. But publisher is also a position, is a designation in a publishing house. Like if I am saying that I am an editor, so some person can say that I am a publisher. So publisher, associate publisher, these are also the profiles in the or the designation in a publishing house, and these are quite senior positions. Editor in chief is a very common term. So I have started with the editor in chief position. Editor in chief and publisher uh, are the same. Their profile is more or less the same, right? So they do not go through the manuscript in detail, right? Their work is to supervise, their work is to manage the people, the editors who are doing this work. Like a publisher supervises the acquisition editors, the development editors, the production editors. So all kind of editors are being supervised by the editor in chief. They will although they will not go through the manuscript in detail, as as will be done by the acquisition editor or development editor or any editor under them. But they will definitely look at the list that they have in their hand. They mainly focus on the plans, that okay, this year we are going to publish these many books or these subject books. So they ask the acquisition editors what you are planning to bring up in the next year, in which fields you are researching, in which emerging on which emerging technologies you are planning to get the book, or how many business plans you have in your mind for the next year, for this year. Or they supervise that how the development editors are evaluating the manuscript, they are doing it correctly or not, whether the inputs from the development editor are sufficient for not for to improve the manuscript. If not, they provide the feedback, and accordingly the manuscript is finalized. So their role is basically to supervise and managing all the editors, right? Then comes our sub editors are mainly in the newspaper field. uh, in book publishing house, you will very rarely hear the word sub editor. Sub editors are mainly in the newspaper field. And they are also called news editor, they are called the wire editor, they are called the city editor, they are called the managing editor. So what they do, their work is more or less similar to the copy editor. uh, so they analyze the content, because in a newspaper publishing, you will not get a 300 or 400 page book or a 200 page book. You will get small articles. So they analyze according to the target readers. See, the main funda of evaluation is same for any genre. If you are publishing in a newspaper, if you are publishing in a book, in a magazine, in a genre, the way of analyzing may be different, because if you are analyzing for a newspaper, you will focus mainly on the presentation of the news, on the correctness of the news, or you will not make more efforts for the paper or quality or all, because you know that this paper will survive only for a one day. After that it will be used for some other purposes, right? For reading it will be for one day. So their way of evaluation may be different. If you are evaluating an article for a magazine, so their perspective may be different. So the perspective may be different for different genres, but the basic image or basic the image, we can say, we have in our mind, that this book is we should know while evaluation that who is the target reader. So while evaluating, while editing, we should have that target reader in our mind, that it is suitable for that target reader or not, right? So sub editor work is also similar to the copy editor, but they are mainly for the newspapers. So my suggestion here for you is, whenever you will start your career in publishing house, and you get the job advertisements, you see the job advertisement, and the job advertisements say that this is the role of an editor. So please confirm before applying or before going for the interview, that what is actually the profile of an editor uh, that you are looking for, because different publishers have uh, different nomenclatures or different labels for their editors. Like a trade like an academic publisher will have the development editor, the commissioning editor, the production editor profiles there, right? But if there is a trade publisher like Oxford University Press, like if they are or Pearson, you may have heard. So if they are publishing for an position, they will publish editor. So their editor works performs all these tasks. So before applying for or before attending an interview, you should have clarity in your mind that what role the publisher is actually looking for, so you can prepare accordingly, or you should have the knowledge of that profile in detail. The production editor, there are, I have talked much enough about that. Development editors and acquisition editors, also we have talked about those in MVP1 a lot. Then comes the copy editor. A copy editor, see, copy editor is not a very senior position in a publishing house, but it is a very crucial and a very critical position, because if the copy editing quality is not good, the any further process that will be there, like typesetting, proofreading, anything will be there, it will be more time taking, it will require more effort, and finally the printed book will not be of much good quality. So if you will see the reviews of books on Amazon, on Flipkart, so you may uh, go through, or you may encounter some feedbacks regarding to the language only, that the book is very good, the concept is very good, and every structure is very good, but there are problems of the spellings, grammars, typos. So uh, when one reads those kind of reviews, it does not leave a very good impression of that specific publisher, right? So when you are editing for your company, you are representing your company in the market. You should not think that, fine, I'm working in my I'm working at my desk and I'm doing this. Once this book is I have done this task and is transferred to another department, my work is finished. No, because what will the image in the mind that, fine, this publisher uh, quality is not good, right? So you are representing your publisher in the market while editing. So that's why a copy editor role is very crucial for the publisher, because it is only the copy editor. See, there are a lot of editors in a publishing house, as I have told you, but it is only the copy editor. He or she is the sole person who is going through the manuscript sentence by sentence, word by word, or I would say character by character. Even a dot, even a comma is the responsibility of a copy editor to look for. So no one is looking into much detail, or in a more detailed way than the copy editor. So the role of a copy editor is very crucial. Being a copy editor, you should have the strong language skills, grammar skills. You should have the sound punctuation skills. You should have the concept. You should have some common sense concept, that whether to judge whether it is right or not. You should have this thing in mind, that whether it is the whether you can take this decision to change that's the some specific sentence or some specific word, or uh, sometimes it happens, when we are not feeling that this sentence is right, or we are feeling that this sentence is right but it's not sounding good to the ear. But it is not always the case. A copy editor should think from the author point of view and from the reader point of view also. His or her view is always there, but when I'm reading a sentence, I'm not finding it good or appropriate for the book. But I should, before changing it completely, I should give a second thought, that what the author actually wants to say in this context. So it may happen that from the author's point of view, it is okay, or sometimes it happens that I am changing the sentence, but then the meaning is changing what the author wants to say. uh, we think that maybe the meaning has changed, we are not sure that it is okay or not. So there should be judgmental skills for in a copy editor, that whether we should query to the author for this, that please see, we have made this change, please see if it is okay or not, if it is not conveying, if it is conveying your intended meaning or not, right? So the copy editor should have those skills. And the copy editing is a very important, and is a very job that requires your concentration. So copy editors should always work in a fresh mind. If you have if you are working on editing a book or something, like for 1 or 2 hours, you should have a break. Otherwise you will not be able to maintain your skills or your capacity. It may happen, it may be that you have knowledge, but you will not be able to maintain that quality in your book if you're not taking break. Because a human mind is there, and it needs relax before getting into a concentrated job, or in a work that needs concentration and focus, right? So apart from these skills, the copy editor normally any editor should have the negotiation skills for basically comes with the author for an editor, and because we are not a sales or marketing person. So for an editor, negotiation skills or convincing skills comes for the authors. If we have made any change and the author is not convinced with that change, and we know that this is not right, this is not grammatically correct, but the author is insisting, nahi, this is I want this thing. So we should be able to convince them with the reason, with the logic behind our point. uh, See, authors are the client of the publishers. They are considered as god in a publishing house because their business is running with because of them only, right? So we always are supposed to, or we should always obey our authors. But it is not the case, it is not should be always the case that whatever is the author saying, we should accept that as a publisher, because author has their points of viewpoint, but we also have some limitations with us, with some restrictions with us, for the timelines, for the styling of the book we have. So an editor should have that those skills. They can talk with the author, they can discuss in detail with the authors anything if required, and they can adjust, they should adjust them according to the author needs. For example, nowadays, earlier the authors were okay with the mails and all, but nowadays the authors are also preferring the WhatsApp and messages and all. So we should be comfortable for responding time to on the WhatsApp messages and all, uh, right? And sometimes there may be the cases that author is not very technically sound. I have seen the cases where the author also does not prefer to write the emails, does not prefer to respond to your emails. They are okay for with conversing with you on the calls and all. So we should have that kind of patience that we can understand the author requirements. We can understand the author, you can say, responsibilities, or their authors uh, helplessness sometimes, that they are not technically sound, they are old aged, they cannot work on computers for long, or they do not know even how to use computers. So we have to handle these authors accordingly. So the patience thing is also very crucial skill for an editor. Mm. Then we have talked about the different kinds of editors, and now the different kinds of editing is there. See, uh, like there are different, as we have seen that there are different kinds of editors. So they do according to their profile, they do different kinds of editing. Editing is done for content, editing is done for presentation of content, editing is done for the presentation of the book, right? So different editors, or sometimes maybe the same editor perform the different kinds of editing. Like editing for content means the content should be, like I told in the in the beginning of the session, that the content and text presentation is considered different. So the content should be structurally correct, should be in a flow, or the editor can suggest that the content can be squeezed here. There should be more detail about this section uh, here. So they query the author that the book can be improved here, this chapter can be renamed as because the explanation is on some another topic more. So the subject matter experts are there, like if it is a physics book, so when a subject matter expert is evaluating or editing the book for the content, They know about the content, and they may feel that the fact is not presented correctly. It may not be well understood by the students or the any specific reader, any target reader. So they do the editing of this kind. Editing for content is basically the improving the content of the book, what is written, how it is written, not but what is written in the book, that should be okay, that should be correct. Okay. Then editing for presentation of content, this comes mainly under the profile of a copy editor only. They they look for the presentation of content also. This is called the see, copy editing also have levels of copy editing level. It is classified as level 1, 2, 3, right? So one is minimal, then second is medium level of copy editing, and third is the highest level of copy editing. So highest level of copy editing, level 3, is basically looking for the presentation of the content, not the presentation of the book, but the presentation of the content, right? So what will the editor edit in the presentation of the content? They will look for that while reading, if I feel that this sentence is very long, this sentence is for covering 4 to 5 lines, and it may not be very understandable by the reader, so they will break the sentence. I'm feeling that no, this is not a very good language to be used. I will rephrase that paragraph, right? So these kind of uh, task is done by the copy editor when they are doing the editing for the presentation of content. You will ask normally in a publishing industry, if you are working or if you are working as a freelancer also, you will be asked that you need to perform the level 3 editing in this manuscript. So you will look for these kind of changes, rephrasing. Maybe the copy editor feels that flow of the paragraphs is not correct, so they may shift, they may replace, not replace but replace the paragraphs up and down to maintain or to improve the flow of the content. So these kind of things come under the presentation of the content. The content should not be very vague or very messy for the reader, right? Then the editing for the presentation comes here. We will look for the presentation of the tables, of the figures, of your sections, uh, right? So if a table is suppose a table has only the figures in this, uh, some population data is there, right? So it has only the figures in that one column, state names, Bihar, Haryana, Uttar Pradesh, like this. And then there only numbers are coming, 2000, 4000, or maybe decimal numbers are also coming there. And this table is only with the uh, top and bottom border, without any lines in between, without any borders in between. So an editor will look for that it will not be very clear to the reader while to understand the numbers, if there will not be any distinction, if there will not be any separation. So they will look for this kind of presentation of the content, that should be corrected, and they get them corrected by the uh, composition department, or whatever the whoever the person is dealing with the composition and or formatting of the book. So they will look for that. And presentation of figures also. Suppose the figure is very small, the book has a lot of space and a small figure in between, so it will not look good, obviously, though they will adjust it accordingly by the in the side and all. So these kind of things come under the presentation of the content. Or if the it may happen that the editor feels that the chapter title is not looking very highlighted, it's similar to the section headings of the chapter, so they will change them accordingly. So these kind of things under the presentation of the content, right? One is the language editor also. Language editor is similar to the copy editor, but copy editor works both on the language and the style of the book, but the language editor will mainly focus only on the language of the book. They will rephrase the language, but they will not go for the style of the book. Style consists here. See, in copywriting, the style means copywriting comprises three C's in that: clarity, consistency, and correctness. Right, the sentence where what they are editing should be clear enough to the reader. The chapter they are editing or the book they are editing should be consistent. If a term is appearing in a hyphenated manner, uh, like there is a term well known, well known is appearing a hyphenated once, so it should be hyphenated throughout. Right, so these kind of consistency. Or if we are there are centuries in the book, 21st century, 20th century, so how they are be presented, are they in numbered format or they are in spelled out format? This kind of consistency. If the figure is appearing like figure or only fig dot, so this kind of consistency a copy editor looks for. UK US spellings, the I will come to that later. UK spellings, the copy editor looks for. So these kind of styles also the copy editor looks for, and also the language. But the language editor will mainly focus on the language only. They are not much concerned about the styling at all. Right? Any questions? Okay, few topics more. Then we will come to unit two. Uh, okay, before starting the copy editing or before starting the content editing, right, the editor should have a clarity in their mind, not in their mind, they should have a clarity from their seniors, that this book we are going to publish, this book we are going to print, this book has been approved by the senior management. That's why I told yesterday that a production department also asks for the contract signed between the author and the publisher, so that they are clear that their efforts will not go in waste and they will not incur the costing in vain. So once if you have to start the copywriting or any kind of editing on the book, so you should have that clarity on papers, not only verbally. On papers you should have the clarity, or on emails you have the should have the clarity that yes, we are going ahead with this book and we will be publishing this book. Then only the editor should start working on it. Right. There are also content editors, like content editors I have told earlier, na? Yeah, right. So the content editors we have talked about, the copy editor we have talked about. So uh, what I just mentioned about the styling of the book, what the copy editor looks for. So for editing in India, you should have the sound knowledge of the UK and US English, at least in written, not in verbal, because if you're going for a print media, you should have the sound knowledge of differences between the UK and US English, because in the if, for the fresher interviews, this question will always be asked, that you know the differences between the uh, UK English and US English or not. You There are many differences between the spellings, there are differences in the styling of the punctuation and all. So like UK English uses ISE spellings. Suppose realize, so it will be REALISE. The same spelling will go with Z, REALIZE. Like color, very common word. UK people will say COLOUR, and the US people will say COLOUR. Like modeling, very common word. The UK people will say it with double L, MODE, and US will go with single L, MODELING. Similarly, there are like behavior word, OUR. You must have gone through these spellings. uh, Basically, in the if you are working on the computers, the language or the spellings you will found are of the US English, right? And because Microsoft and all are of the Microsoft is a US company, and we mainly works in the publishing industry. We mainly work on the Word, Excel, these kind of softwares, and these are the Microsoft ones. So there you will find only the US spellings. If you have not noticed it yet, you will notice it now. All right. And in India, the common spelling, the spellings or the English the common man is using, they will use mainly the UK spellings, right? So on a Wikipedia also, if you will go for the differences between the UK and US spellings, there is a very wide description on those, and they have given the reasons, and they have given a very good list uh, in detail, that what are actually the difference. And I suggest you should go through that. It will definitely help you in, if you are actually willing to go into to the publishing industry. So sometimes the authors are not very clear, or sometimes the authors have used the mixed version of UK and US English. So a copy editor has to fix that, because it is called inconsistency in the manuscript. If one spelling is behavior spelling we are using as UK, and color spelling we are using as US, so it must not be there. The manuscript should be consistent. So the copy editor should have the sound knowledge, so that they can evaluate, sorry, they can fix or they can edit the manuscript for consistency or for S and Z spellings. There are some common spellings like S and Z, OUR, double L, single L, we can see. But there are some specific spellings also. So this will come with the experience. Specific spellings like a word very common in our household, soya bean, right? So it will be SOYABEAN in UK English, but if we are writing in US, it will be SOY only. A will go SOYBEAN. So these kind of differences are there. You should go through the Wikipedia article or any article if you find better than that, to have a sound knowledge of UK US English. Because if you are going to start copy editing or any kind of editing, you should have knowledge of, you must have actually of knowledge of these kind of differences, right? The copy editor will look for that, if all the tables, if all the figures are cited in the manuscript correctly or not. If they will not, if they are not, then they will query the author, right? Because every citation or every element that is numbered, that is given in the manuscript, should have the text citation. Text citation is basically the author should write or should give a reference in the text, that what does this figure stands for. If we have given that, if a figure is mentioning that, figure caption is there. Caption is the title of the figure. These are some technical terms of the publishing. The title of the figure is called caption of the figure. The title of the table will be called the caption of the table, right? So the table caption says population data from 1992 2022, right? But it is going in between the manuscript. The reader should know that in what context the author has given this table, right? So wherever the author is discussing about that specific topic, population, so the author should cite that, okay, this is the population tendency, and this is the criteria that is happening these days. I'm just giving us vague sample example, a general example, right? And then they should know ki we have I have shown that how the population is increasing, has increased from in the last decade in table 1, in table 6.1. So it means that the reader should know in what context the author has given specific illustration, table, figure, box, any map if they are giving. So copy editor checks for that. These are called the styling things. These are the mechanical things that the copy editor looks for, in addition to the language and grammar, right? If there are any long paragraphs, the copy editor can break into smaller paragraphs for the clarity. If the numbering of the tables or figures is not correct, 4.1, 4.2, then 4.4 is coming, right? So they should be in sequence. Accordingly, they can uh, correct that, and for this they need not go to the author. uh, okay, the because this question comes in the mind when we work as an editor, when we work as a copy editor, that what call can we take and on our own, and what for which queries we should go to the author. So for this you can apply this formula, that anything related to the text presentation or the text thing, you can take a call. Like if a numbering is wrong, right, if it is a standard grammatical mistake, you can obviously correct that, and you need not go to the author for reviewing for making that change. But whenever you feel that you are making the change in the content, like I mentioned earlier, like if you have made a change in the sentence, and if you feel that yes, this is a major change, uh, suppose you have made some positive sentence into negative sentence, right, or if you have made a change but you are not very sure that the author wants to say this or not, whether your change is conveying the intended meaning of the sentence of the author or not, so you should for the content related queries to the author, right, for the layout things, for the text presentation things, for your styling things, for the standard rules of grammar and all, you need not go to the author, because this is the editorial call, this is the publisher discretion, that they will go with this only. Yes, if the author asks for something specific, so like in my one of the instances that I have faced, that one spelling is there, two words, right, you have gone through a lot of times towards spelling. So it is with S in the UK English and it is without S in US English. So the book was following the UK US English, I think, consistently, but the author was insisting on the two-word spelling. He was insisting that no, I want this two-word spelling only with S only. That means the complete book with US spelling and in the one spelling only in the UK version. So there may be you may face these kind of instances also. So if there is something specific from the author, then we should definitely go to the author and ask. And if we are making or not making change, we can discuss with the author and accordingly take a decision. If not possible by us, then we should go to our seniors and confirm, take their call, and then take the decisions for these kind of things, right? So that happens. Then functions of the editor, roles of the editors, we have got very enough in detail. Like technology is also taking the its part in publishing industry, also in editing skills also. So now the Microsoft Word has a lot of functionality. Like they have the functionality of spell check. Earlier the editors used to do the editing thing on a paper with paper and pencil, right, but nowadays it is not there. Spell check is from very spell check is there from the long back thing, but nowadays there are also options of styling references, right? Earlier what happened, that the author provided the references and you style them manually, sitting there when the manuscript is ready and you are editing finally, and then you are going to edit it manually. But now this is not the case. You have the inbuilt functionality in Microsoft Word. From the beginning stage only, the authors can style the references according to the standard style with the APA style, with the Chicago Manual style. Standard styles are there in the inbuilt in the Microsoft Word, and they can style it correctly from the very beginning. So the efforts of the editor also reduces here, right? There are inbuilt functionalities of math equations in Microsoft Word. Earlier we used to have a separate math software for the styling the equations and all, but now the Microsoft Word has a functionality of uh, math equations, styling math equations. So editor can easily go there and style the equations, make changes in equations are created by the author, but copy editor needs to make the changes or needs to edit those equations also. They can be easily done by now by the inbuilt softwares of the Microsoft Word. Like in Excel, you have the functionalities of creating and tables. And sometimes it happens that the author has not provided any graph. He wants to have a figure, but he has provided you the Excel table only, right? So you need not have to make much effort. There are functionalities in Excel. You can make a graph from them. So the technology is also helping the editors here, right? Now, and also, like I told you, the queries for the queries are for the editorial queries that are raised while doing a copy editing. They are sometimes by the at the stage before typesetting, and sometimes it is after typesetting. So here also the technology works, because now the publishers have started adopting a method of auto inclusion of queries in the proofs, because the copy editor works on the word files and the typesetter is working on the PDF files, is generating the PDF files actually. So the copy editor will raise their queries in word files in a comment uh, format, and the typesetter, there are tools with the typesetters. They incorporate, when they will typeset their the word files in the PDF, the queries will automatically generate in the proofs at the beginning of the PDF. There are hyperlinks at the relevant context. So what the author will do, they will just click on that query number with the hyperlink. They will go to the specific text, or they will go to the specific query, vice versa. So the technology is working here also. In indexing, I think technology part is there in the 3 and 4 units, but I will just give you a gist of that. In the indexing also, the technology is playing role. Earlier the indexing happened at the last stage. Nowadays also many publishers are following that thing only, that indexing happens at the last stage, when the proofs and all are final. But uh, term has appeared nowadays, is embedded indexing, that is done on the word files and with the help of XML coding and all. So the typesetters are also improving themselves by doing work on by improving them on XML generation things, on web XML things. They are also improvising themselves. So that means we can say that the technology is also being implemented in the publishing processes, in the production processes, and that is helping the publishers to improve the quality of the work, to improve the timing of the work mainly, and to improve their costing also, right? Because like it is a common statement, time is money. If your time is saved, that your money is automatically saved. Copy editing and proofreading, both are essential. So copy editing is a task that needs concentration, that needs focus, that needs language clarity and all. But proofreading also is that, but proofreading is not a proofreading job does not expect much that from the proofreader, language and grammar and all. They basically look for the copy editor errors, look for the typesetting errors, so that the final proofs that are going, that are error free. So when does the proofreading stage come? It comes after the typesetting. So what does the proofreader get? Proofreader gets the final typesetted first pass of the typeset PDF, and they will get the manuscript that went for the typesetting, the word files that went for the typesetting. So they compare both, though both copies, like final files, word files that went for the typesetting, and the first pass that has come from the typesetting. They will compare both copies, that whether there are any issues in that, whether there are any gaps between them. They will compare the manuscript para by para, that it is in flow or not. They will look for the typesetting corrections, typesetting mistakes, sorry, whether there are page breaks. You will get to know, but there are many terms of for typesetting point of view also, widows, orphans, page breaks. So they will look for those kind of typesetting errors. They fixes that, and then it is passed to the typesetter for the corrections, right? So for the proofreader, it does not need to be very highly skilled, but yes, with experience, with time, they get very highly skilled, and they have good knowledge about the publishing, about the proofs, and about the printing process. Right, when because when I started my career as an editor, so I learned so many things from the experienced proofreaders. So it does not mean that proofreaders are not knowledgeable or not skillful. They are very skillful, but the profile is this, but they get skillful and they are very knowledgeable also. Right? And this is a very important stage also, because once the typesetting is done, so then the proofs are in a process of being finalized for printing. So this is the stage, proofreading is the stage where there is a where the manuscript can be analyzed. This is the last stage actually, where the manuscript can be analyzed for any gaps or for any major or blunder errors in the proofs. Like sometimes the proofreaders catches the things like the name of the author spelling is wrong, or the on the title page of the book it is some different spelling, in the chapter it is different spelling. So these kind of crucial errors are also caught by the proofreaders. So this is also a very crucial stage. So here we have covered unit 1. If you have anything in your mind from the production aspects, you can please ask.
Ma'am, a publishing house can hire a editor who is a freelancer, isn't it?
Yeah, they can hire.
And the freelancers usually they work from home
Yes.
with their comfort. So,
No, 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 no. You are getting a
I
bit
mean,
confused here.
okay, okay,
See, a freelancer is it is not basically that it is not focused that they are working from home or the company.
okay,
The main difference between the freelancers and the in-house person
okay,
is the in-house person is on the payroll of the company. They will
okay,
go they will go to the company, they will attend the office, and they will get some specific salary that is
yeah,
fixed for them, right? But the freelancer is not on the payroll of the company, right? The freelancer will work on the project basis. Like I
okay,
have given a book to a freelancer that please copy edit that this book, and we will pay you 30 rupees per page for the book. So
okay.
once the project is completed, the freelancer will raise the bill, and publisher will pay the that specific amount to the freelancer. Their work is over.
Yeah, so the physically, sorry, freelancing editor need not actually come to the location of publishing house. He can work from his office also,
Yes,
he
yes,
or
yes. The
she.
freelancer are not expected, because
Uh,
freelancer is free. See, the word is free
yeah,
only. Yeah, so he's free from any bondations or restrictions of these kind. Because in-house resource, if I am doing a job in a company, so I can't do a job in more than one companies, right?
yeah,
But a freelancer can do jobs of different companies of 3 or 4 companies according to their
yeah,
comfortability. So
yeah,
they are free from these kind of things, because physically present or not present is not the case these days, because in-house persons are also working in the remote or hybrid model.
yeah. So,
So
ma'am, my question now is, how do, because the contract will be between the publishing house and the author. It
yes,
is publishing house's responsibility to protect the content that is given by the author,
yes,
but
yes,
the
yes.
same content will be shared to with the freelancing editor.
Mm-hmm.
So during that time, how do the publishing house ensure the ensure that the content is not leaked, that is received from the author? I mean, we have to say if I am the publishing house and I have
Mm-hmm.
to forward the content that I have received from the author to the
Mm-hmm.
editor for editing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So how do I ensure, in spite of all the contracts that we sign between the editor and publishing house, there could be some contract that you cannot share this content and all. But still, won't there be any breach of those
See,
policies?
the contract when there is a clause of not sharing a content and all, that
Okay,
clause is of the final published book, that you are not authorized to reproduce this book, or you are not authorized to share this book with others, right?
okay,
But your point is also correct that the content may be leaked. Yes, there are chances of
okay,
leakages, and there have been cases like this also,
yeah,
right? But in that case, there are very less chances, because a freelancer, if I am doing work as a freelancer and I'm
Okay.
doing this kind of things, that I am using the content of provided by the publisher, and I am using it in an unauthorized way. So
Okay.
there is a risk for me also if
Okay.
I get caught. So there
Okay.
can be a legal case against me also,
Yeah.
right? For these things, the publishers are also taking measures these days. Like
Okay.
earlier what happened, there are a lot of file transfer protocols on the internet, like WeTransfer is there, Google
Yeah.
Drive is there, right? So
Yeah.
earlier what happened, that the in-house people, because now the trend is of outsourcing things.
Mm.
So earlier what happened, the in-house peoples transferred the heavy files, because it is not possible on the emails always because of the
Yeah.
heaviness of the files. So they transfer the files through WeTransfer, Google Drive, according to their suitability or comfortability.
Yeah.
So there have been cases in one of my companies also, that few manuscripts got leaked and they were used in an unauthorized manner.
Okay.
So what the publishers are doing, they are using the FTP version, that file transfer protocol, that is based on the login and password,
Okay.
right?
Okay.
So the company generates the login and password for every specific freelancers or vendors. They
Okay.
provide that login password to that specific vendor or freelancer, and only they are able to open it and they are able to use. So in between any third party, because in transferring from through WeTransfer or any kind of this kind of file transfer protocol, there are chances of leakage by any third party also,
Yeah.
because this is a third party platform. So now the publishers are taking the measures for this also.
Okay. Okay, ma'am. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, fine. So nothing else. Okay, so now we should move to the second unit, that is of relationship between the author, publisher, and the editor. This is a very crucial thing. This relationship, like I told you, author is considered as a god in a company, and if we do not have a very good relationship with the author, uh, they will not like to work with us, because if the, as I told, that an editor is a representative of the publisher. So if they will not maintain a good relations with the authors, if they are not responding their emails on time, because there is a, in a corporate world there is a specific timelines for each thing. If someone is emailing you for some specific thing, so you should respond to them within 24 hours, right? So these kind of things, if you are not maintaining, if you have committed the authors that okay, we will share the proofs with you by mid of June, and we are not able to do, and we are, it may be some because of some obvious reasons, but we should inform the authors earlier, because they have also a busy schedule. uh, so we should inform the author that sir, we will not be able to do this by the schedule time, we will do this by that time. So if you're not responding to the authors, if you're not attending their calls, if you're not maintaining the deadlines or schedule, and if you're not able to negotiate with them correctly, convincing them, and your if your tone is not very correct, right? So it is not, the author does not feel happy, anyone, any client in any field does not feel happy if they are not being treated correctly, right? So this relationship is very important. So we will talk about this. So for the editor, author, publisher, see, their profiles are different, their works are different, they have different tasks, they have different work timings and all, but the common aim is same for the aim is same for all, for the editors also, for the authors and the publisher also. Like I told mentioned earlier also, that the aim should be from the starting of the manuscript. Manuscript is started from the end of the author, right? And it ends at the end of the printer, right? So from the starting till end, the image in everybody's mind who is working uh, on the manuscript, mainly the editors, the final product that they are going to serve in the market, right? So while writing, while acquisition, while evaluation, editing, any kind of editing, if you're doing substantive editing, content editing, copy editing, we should have a final picture of what the book actually wants to target, right? What the book actually wants to target, and what the specific target readers the book is actually aiming for. So if the target audience is in your mind, you will definitely get success in whatever you are doing. If you are doing evaluation at the stage of development, if you are doing evaluation at the stage of copy editing, if you are doing evaluation at the stage of production editing, as a production editor, you will definitely get success in your tasks. You are not responsible for other tasks, but you will definitely get success in your task if you are clear enough about the target readers, right? I will come on this in detail bit later. So as we have discussed earlier also, that the authors are dependent on publisher and the publishers are dependent on the author. Like, how the author is dependent, because they see, the author writes the book with in few scenarios. Like he has written a book, but he does not know, or he does not have at that time in their mind that who will be the publisher of their book, right? If the uh, author has written some book, they are approaching the publisher. The publisher may reject, they may deny, they may accept the uh, manuscript, or the author may decide to go to another publisher, the author may not go, so decide. So the author dependence is that because of the marketing and promotional efforts for the from the editing aspects, these kind of dependencies are of the author. like uh, like as we have told that sometimes the author does not feel good about the publishers. Sometimes the I talked about one term earlier, print run. Right. So print run is what? The print run is the number of copies that the publisher decides to print in first go. Right. That is called the print run. That we are doing this book and we will print 500 copies or 1100 copies in one go. So that 1100 is the print run of the book, and the royalty is paid on the sales of the book. So sometimes the what the author feels is that the publishers are not revealing exactly the print run, the correct print run with them, so that their royalty will not be so that the royalty will be reduced or will be less. So they do not uh, they do not get satisfaction with the publisher's commitment, that the publisher is saying that no, we are going to publish only 900 copies, but the author has a feeling that no, they are going to publish more than this, right? So they are not, sometimes they're not satisfied with them. So what the some of the authors, not all, I will say some of the authors are going for the vanity publishing these days also. Vanity publishing is what? Vanity publishing is the kind of publishing where the author pays to get their book published. Right? So there are also some vanity publishers who charges author, who charge author for getting their books published in the market. So they do not do much efforts in the evaluation and all, because they are see, the normal publisher, a mainstream publisher is dependent on their sales, on their profits. So they do the evaluation in details and all, editing and all, right? But a vanity publisher knows that we have received our price from the author, we have received our fees, so they do not make much efforts in the evaluation and all, right? So these are called vanity publishers. So some authors go for that vanity publishing also, but it is not much in trend. But yes, this is a kind of publishing that is in existence also, but not much in trend, right? Literary agent works we have done in the earlier sessions. So what is the role of the editors? We have talked earlier also, but it is also mentioned in this unit. So I have talked about this, so I will not go again into much detail about this. Right. So there are some see, the author has given the manuscript and the publisher is doing his evaluation, his editing. But there are also some responsibilities that the author should bear. Right. The As I told, that the target reader should also be there between, should be there in the mind from the starting when the author is writing the manuscript. Like it should clarify the concepts to the reader from the point of view of reader, because the author is writing, they are writing from the point of view of the reader. They should not write from the point of view of themselves, but they, because they know the content, but the reader is not aware of the content, that's why they are reading the book, right? Like I worked on one book that the title of the book was Inside Outside. That was basically by two authors. One was from India and one was from outside, and the US author, I think, US or UK. So that author, I will not name the author here. They visited India. He visited India, and he had some good perspectives about the India culture and India tradition. So he met one Indian author in India as a friend. So they both decided to write a book. Uh, so it was from their perspective, inside and outside perspectives, both were there. So in these kind of books, the concept or the picture should be clear. If they are talking about the point of view of an insider of a country, so the actually the picture should be there in the mind of the reader while reading the book, that how actually the India looks. And when the picture should also be clear, that how an outsider looks, or how an outsider feels when he visits India, about the India culture, India tradition, India politics, anything about India. So I mean to say here, I have given an example to just clarify you that the what the author wants to convey should be clear enough in the minds of the reader. Should there be a picture in the mind of the reader? So this is the responsibility of the author, because the editor will correct few sentences, few paragraphs, but the main core content is the responsibility of the author, that how they should present their content, or how they should write their content, right? So it is the responsibility of the authors. And they should also look for the language and grammar of the book. Obviously the publishers have their professional editors there, but an editor can do up to a certain limit. But if in every sentence there are two three corrections, if every see, major corrections are understood, but every proper noun word is small, every sentence is starting with a small letter, there are so many spaces between the words, there are so many typos in the manuscript, so that is generally not acceptable. The author should take that responsibility. See, the publisher will correct it, but the author should also take the that responsibility, that there should be manuscript is at least the workable by the should at least be workable by the reader, sorry, editors, right? So some these kind of things are come under the responsibility of the authors regarding the production aspects, right? So it is the joint responsibility. From this, we can say that it is a joint responsibility of the author, publisher, editor. That the what is the final product? How is the final product looking? Right. So we have talked about the author's responsibility, and now the publisher's responsibilities. You know about so many responsibilities about the publisher by now. But when the start in the initial stage, when the manuscript is accepted by the acquisition, a form is signed by the author. The publishers provide that form to the authors. That is called author publicity form. Nomenclature is different in different publishing houses. That is called the sometimes it is called BPF, book publishing form. A book publicity form. Sometimes it's called EPF, author publicity form. In that, few details or few information regarding the book needs to be filled by the author. That is very crucial for the publisher to market us for the sales of the book. Like the because the author is if the author is writing the content, they are clear enough about some requirements or some details of the book. Like it is asked that who are the exact audience for your published material, for your published book. Like if it is a book, newspaper, magazine, anything, so will there be a enough audience, enough readers to read that book so that we can make our sales? Or how do you want to publish sorry present your manuscript do you have specific template or layout of the book in your mind? So and the title of the book is also discussed in that the title of the book should be attractive enough to attract the readers of that specific target market, right? And these kind of things. And what if it is a textbooks, then it is asked that what courses it will cover, in what in which universities your book will be preferred, how many students will be willing to buy your book. So about the audience, about the market, or it is also asked that whether you feel that there are any competitive titles in the market uh, for your book. So please let us know. See, the publisher does the evaluation at their end also, but the author is aware about their content, about their book, about their manuscript. So it is asked by the publisher, and the authors fills that form and submits to the publisher, and it helps obviously to the acquisition, to the marketing, to the editors to further process the manuscript. So this can be considered as the publisher responsibility. So there is one more dependence in the production process on the authors and editors of the publisher. Like, a copy editor is checking the content, is checking the text actually, but they are not very sure about the facts, right? If the book is on, suppose, export import, right? So they will do the language editing, they will fix the spellings and grammar, paragraphs, maybe flow of paragraphs they will correct. But if the author has mentioned few sales figures or few export import figures, that this was the export of rice rose by 5% or 6.2%. So if there is some inconsistency, or if the copy editor has some clarity issue in that, so they cannot fix that thing. They cannot take their call, they cannot go to the internet, because on internet there may be different numbers for that. So for these kind of things, the copy editor needs to depend on the authors, that they will go. Sometimes also they research themselves, uh, the proper nouns that are coming in the manuscript, some well-known names of organizations, of people, of institute names they are going. So the copy editor does the check for them on the internet. But suppose there is a name of a colleague of an author is going, right, or some relation of the author is going in the acknowledgement section, in the dedication section. And there is an in see, if the name is going, then we will not have a doubt, obviously, because names can be any, right? But if we have a doubt, if it is a very common name and it is spelled differently, so we cannot decide on ourselves, we will have to depend on the authors for that, and we will raise query for that. If and till the time the author does not respond, we cannot go ahead. Like I mentioned, the content knowledge, if anything is specifically related to the content, so we means editor here, editor cannot decide on their own that this is fine, and we can change it, right? So this for these kind of things, the editor or the publisher needs to depend on the authors. Mm. So uh, like I told, that target audience uh, is there, should be the main focus while editing. So it is there only, like it is a fiction book, so the editor will look for that the characters are not confusing in the manuscript, because the fiction books are like, when the readers read it in a relaxed mode, they don't want to get involved in very critical situations or in complexities. So the things or the flow of the book should be like, it relaxes the mind of the reader. That means the points or the characters mentioned in the fiction book should be very clear enough to the reader, that they get involved in the book, or they get engaged in the book, instead of getting involved in the complexities of the book, right? So if there are so many characters, so that time also, in these cases also, the reader sometimes get confused. So if they can be reduced, so editor can suggest that we can reduce the characters, or if the plot is not very good, so they can suggest improvement in that. Like if they are working, if the editor is working in a children book, so editor should look that is it able to attract the children, not only the design wise, because the design is also one point, but not only the design wise, but also the content wise. The content should be like attractive to the children, right? If it is a textbook, so the textbook should be very clear and very simple. No superficial language is required in that, because textbook is a thing. See, we have a reader in mind, and we should have the also in mind the reading habit of a specific reader. Like I told you about fiction children, like if it is a textbook, uh, what the students do, we as a student do that, we do our preparation before exams, but before one day or before one night before the exam, we like to finally revise the content. And that time we are not going into much detail in the content, that what how is this process, how is this was not working. We will go just about the stages of the process at the time of revisions, right? So at that time, the book should be the content should be very clear, and should be very simple, that the sorry, excuse me, I just need 1 minute break. Yeah. So the students are reading it very students are reading in very rush, so the content should be very clear enough. The bold things are there, the headings are in bold, and the very simple sentences are if they are written, though they will be able to revise. Like a common scenario these days for the college students, when I travel in a metro in the morning time, I see that students are and the students are reading their books, studying their books before exams in metros and all. They are standing and reading their textbooks. So we should have that perspective in mind. The content should be clear enough, the content should be simple enough, so that it suits the reader, it suits the reading habits of the reader. If the reading habits or the reader purpose is solved, then the publisher purpose is solved, obviously, right? So target audience is the main criteria. Also we can evaluate, because this is the end of the manuscript, so I'm just setting few examples to, so that you have clarity in your mind, what more things can be seen or look for, can be looked for in the manuscript or books while evaluating or while doing editing, mainly. Like I did analysis of one book on design thinking. So design thinking is a topic, very normal topic, very common, not very common topic these days, but design thinking is a topic that is a very creative thing, that you are revolutionizing your thinking to solve any issue, to solve any problem. So but that book had some very high profile examples in that, right? Some very examples or cases only from the foreign companies were there, but this should not be the case actually, right? If the book is on such kind of creative topic, the content should be like that, the examples should be like that. You should have some very simple examples that the students or the readers can relate to. They should you should take examples from their common life, that you are doing this thing in your common life, so you can creatively solve this problem with it. So we can have examples from that. And if you're publishing a book in India and your target market is India only, so your content should also be related to India, right? If we are reading a book as a normal student or as a normal reader, and if their example is of some foreign political parties and all, some foreign companies, some foreign banks are there, or some foreign social people are there, the movie industry people are there, so we will not be able to much relate to that, right? If there will be we will say Modi, we will immediately connect with the Indian politics, right? If we will take about name some US politician, we will not be able to much connect with that thing. So these kind of things, this kind of perspective should be there, uh, with which we can improve our manuscript, our book. And obviously this will improve the sales, because the final aim is the sales of the book in the market. Right. So I am almost done. If you have anything in your mind, if you have any questions, you may please ask. Because the production aspect is mainly covered here. In the next units, you will mainly study about the technologies and all, what the publishers are adopting these days, right? E-publishing and all. So the mainly the production aspect was these two units. So any query related to the production of the book mainly, or the editing of the book, you can ask.
Ma'am, one basic question. When you say royalty, what does it exactly mean? I mean, what and all is does it consider while making that payment to the author?
Royalty is, in a layman language, is a commission to the author. It is
Okay.
decided like per book sale, we will provide you 10% royalty. Like if
Okay.
his book is of 1,000 rupees, so 1,000 rupees will be paid, 10%, 100 rupees will be paid to the author.
Author.
This kind
Okay.
of this is royalty.
So, in the first class, we discussed that royalty is usually fixed in the beginning. Like once the
Yes.
manuscript is validated properly by the publisher, analyzed properly, and then they fix the royalty.
Right.
Right? But today you also said about like if it's author's responsibility also to, though there are editors, even the author needs to take care while writing the content. There shouldn't be too much of work for the editor. uh, After we receive the content, if the quality of the content is so much, I mean, it is so worse that the most of the editing part is done by the editor itself. And if
Mm-hmm.
the publisher then decides that it is not worth of taking this work, I mean, it is not worth of going ahead with publishing of this book,
Mm-hmm.
then won't it be a loss for the publisher investing that much time already
No,
on that content?
no, because see, as the royalty is decided in the beginning, so the
Okay,
basic idea of the language is there in the mind of the acquisition and development editor also. So
okay,
they are not editing it word by word or character by character like a copy editor, but they go through broadly through the manuscript to have an idea that what kind of language is there, that will we be able to process this manuscript or not. So they
okay,
have an idea of the manuscript, what kind of the manuscript it is, the beginning only.
okay. Generally, what is this royalty range, ma'am? Does it
Generally it is
differ
10 to
from?
20%, but
Okay,
yes, some new publishers that are coming in the market, uh, for the competition, they are providing a higher percentage of royalties, 30-40 percentage also.
okay,
But generally it is for the normal publisher that are there in the market for long, it is 10 to, basically
mm,
not 20, also 10 to 15% ranges between.
okay, okay. So revenue is more for the publisher than the author, basically. Uh,
Obviously it depends mainly on the sales.
okay, okay, okay,
Yeah,
ma'am. Thank
the
you.
more the sale, the more the royalty will depend on that only.
Okay, yeah, thank you.
So are we done then? So Fine, then I think we can close the session, sir, because the 2 units that I have planned are completed today.
Yes, thank
And
you so much, ma'am. Thank you for
yeah, you're
that
welcome,
very
sir.
elaborate session. And I'm sure the learners have learned a lot in these sections that you are handling. I suppose the next section is tomorrow, ma'am.
Yes, sir.
So we look forward to your next session, ma'am.
Yeah,
And
I'm
as
sure, sir.
usual, we will be posting these videos in the YouTube channel of ours. And
Yeah, sure, sir.
those are indeed very popular because many people are coming and watching it. I think students from the previous batches are also viewing these sessions. So
Okay.
it is a very good experience for us. And thank you, ma'am. Thank you
And
for your
same
time
for
and
me,
effort.
sir. You're welcome, sir.
Yeah, thank
Yeah.
you so much.
Okay, sir. Bye, sir. Thank you, students.
Thank you. Meet you all tomorrow.
Sure.